Hey everyone, let's learn event handling in React. To create an interactive and responsive web applications which responds to a user's action, we must have to use event handlers. Handling events with React elements is very similar to handling events on the DOM elements with some minor difference in the syntax. Let's understand how we can handle events in functional component. Let's create one file in this event handling folder. Name it a functional component. In this file, I'm creating a functional component using a React snippets. Let's create one button and name it as a functional button. Create one event handler for onClick event. Now this is how we used to call method in HTML, but in React we will use curly braces. Also, event names in React must be in camel case, which means first letter of a first word should be in small letter, while the first letter of the second word is in the capital letter. Just like this. Now let's create this method here using a function keyword. Right now, let's just log the message that button is clicked. Don't forget to import it in the app.js file. And it's working great. Now if you want to pass arguments, then you have to use function keyword or arrow function, just like this, and pass any arguments. Here I am passing code bugs. Don't forget to change the main function, which will display name in the console. And as you can see, it's working. If you want to know about the event, then you have to pass e as an event in the argument, just like this. Let's just log the type of this event using event.type. And it's working great. It is an click event. You can also use this simple function keyword just like this. Now if you are creating a form and on submit event, call a click handler. On click handler, use log and display that form is submitted. Inside the form, create one input field and a button. Make sure to set type of the button as submit. Save this. As you can see here, whenever I press submit button in the console, we can see a form is submitted, but for a very short time and page gets reload. Now this is a normal behavior of a submit button. To prevent this, we have to use event. Pass event as e at the on submit and also inside the main click handler function. To prevent this default events, we can use event.prevent default method at the beginning. This will prevent the default behavior of submit. It's working great. Next is the event handling in the class component. In class component, handling events is little different than in the functional component. Create one class component.js file and use React snippets to create it. Now inside this, same as we did before, create one button and call it as a class button. There will be a slight difference than we did in the functional component while calling this method. We have to use this keyword because we are inside the class component. We can create this method outside of the render. Here we don't need a function keyword, just use the name of the method. Save this and import it in the app file. And it's working. Now there is a little changes you have to make if you are using a constructor. Let me show you. Let's create one constructor and state, name, and initialize it with any string like ABC. Display the state like this inside of h1 tag. On the click handler, we will set the state and try to change this value. As I click this button, we get an error that cannot read property set state of undefined. Let's log this keyword. And it is undefined, which means you will lose your this inside the function. This is not the issue of a React, but it is an issue of the JavaScript. To know more about it, I will put a link in the description from where you will get more information about this keyword. Now to preserve your this keyword inside of the function, we have to bind event handler with the current instance. There are different methods to bind event handler. You can bind this at the onClick call just like this. It's working fine. Or you can bind every methods or event handlers inside the constructor using this.eventHandler name equals this.eventHandler.bind this keyword. This method is most suitable to use. You should bind every method inside of the constructor. It's working good. And the last one is the arrow function. You should use arrow function because arrow functions capture this keyword value of the enclosing context or current instance. We can modify this click handler with arrow function syntax. And it's working. Now if you want to use this event handlers in a child component, for that let's create one child component. Name it as a child of a class component.js and create it using React snippets. Create one button and name it as a child component. While in the parent component, import the child component and pass this .click handler as a method. Here method is the props we are passing to the child component. In the child component inside of the button on click, use this .props.method. And it's working. This is how you can use event handlers or methods of a parent component. That's it for this video. Subscribe to watch more videos on the basics of React. Stay tuned.